Have you ever bought a coffee and thought, this is just $5, it doesn't matter? Or ordered takeout because cooking felt like too much work? Or clicked buy now on something small you didn't really need? Here's what nobody talks about. Those tiny decisions aren't just costing you $5. They're costing you your financial future. And most people have no idea it's happening. Because here's the thing. Your financial outcome isn't determined by one big decision. It's determined by 1,000 tiny ones. The ones you make every single day without even thinking about them. Here at Simple Money, we've watched people earn great money and stay broke. And we've watched people earn modest money and build serious wealth. And the difference? It's never about how much they make. It's always about their everyday habits. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how the small things you do every day are shaping your financial future. And more importantly, how understanding this changes everything. Here's what's really happening. Most people think about money in big events. Getting a raise, buying a house, paying off debt, starting to invest. Those feel like the moments that matter. The big financial decisions. The ones you sit down and think about carefully. But that's not how wealth actually works. That's not how poverty works either. Your financial life is shaped by the tiny decisions you make dozens of times a day. The ones that feel too small to matter. The ones you don't even register as financial decisions. And here's the cruel part. These tiny habits compound. They multiply. They snowball. In both directions. A $5 coffee every morning doesn't feel like anything. It's just coffee. You need coffee. Everyone drinks coffee. What's the big deal? The big deal is this. $5 a day is $150 a month, $1,800 a year. Over 10 years, that's $18,000. If you invested it instead at 7% return, it would be $25,000. That one tiny habit, the one that feels completely harmless, just cost you $25,000 over a decade. But it gets worse, because it's never just one habit. It's 10 habits, 20 habits, 100 tiny financial decisions every week that all seem meaningless in the moment. This is what I call the invisible erosion. Your wealth isn't destroyed by disasters. It's eroded by tiny habits you don't even notice. Small leaks that drain your financial future while you're not looking. Let me show you how this plays out. The first pattern is what I call the convenience tax. Every time you choose convenience over a little bit of effort, you pay a tax. A convenience tax. And most people are paying this tax dozens of times a week without realizing it. Ordering takeout instead of cooking, that's a convenience tax. The meal costs $15 delivered, the ingredients would cost $5. You just paid a $10 convenience tax. Paying for expedited shipping because you can't wait 3 days. Convenience tax. Buying individual bottles of water instead of a reusable bottle. Convenience tax. Using the ATM at the corner store that charges $3 instead of walking 2 blocks to your bank. Convenience tax. Every single one of these seems tiny, insignificant, not worth thinking about. But here's what makes this so dangerous. The convenience tax is everywhere, and it's sneaky, because convenience feels good. It feels like you're treating yourself like you deserve it. And maybe you do deserve it. But you need to see what it's actually costing you. Let's do the math on a typical week. Take out 3 times at an extra $10 per meal, $30. Expedited shipping once, $8. Daily bottled water, $10. A couple of convenience store purchases at higher prices, $15. That's $63 a week in convenience taxes, $252 a month, $3,024 a year. Over 10 years, that's $30,000. Invested, it becomes $43,000. Your love of convenience just cost you a new car, or a down payment on a house, or a year of financial freedom. And the brutal part? You barely noticed, because each individual moment felt harmless. The second pattern is what I call the lifestyle creep. This one's particularly cruel because it happens when you're succeeding, when you're doing well, when you should be building wealth. Here's how it works. You get a raise, let's say $500 a month. Congratulations, you worked hard for that. But within 3 months, you're spending $500 more per month. Maybe you upgraded your apartment to a nicer place. Maybe you started eating out more. Maybe you bought a nicer car. Maybe you just started spending more freely because now you can afford it. Your income went up. Your expenses went up the same amount. Your savings stayed exactly the same. 0. This is lifestyle creep. Your lifestyle expands to match your income, always, unless you consciously stop it. And here's why it's so dangerous. Most people think getting raises will eventually solve their money problems. They think, once I make enough, I'll start saving. Once I earn more, everything will be easier. But lifestyle creep means you never arrive. You're always at 0, always spending what you make, just with nicer stuff. I've seen people making $200,000 a year living paycheck to paycheck. Not because they're stupid, but because their lifestyle grew to consume $200,000. Meanwhile, I've seen people making $50,000 a year retire early because they never let lifestyle creep take their raises. The difference isn't income, it's habits. Specifically, what you do when your income increases. Most people see a raise as money to spend. High earners who build wealth see a raise as money to save and invest before their lifestyle can expand to consume it. The third pattern is what I call the friction failure. This is when you fail to build wealth because saving and investing have too much friction, too many steps, too much effort, too much thinking required. Meanwhile, spending has 0 friction. It's instant, it's easy, it's one click. Here's what this looks like in real life. You get paid. The money hits your checking account. You have good intentions. You plan to transfer some to savings. You plan to invest something. But life happens. Bills come out. You spend on groceries, gas, whatever. Days pass. Weeks pass. And the money that was supposed to go to savings and investments? It's gone. Spent. On stuff you can't even remember. Not because you're undisciplined, but because spending is easy and saving requires effort. This is the friction failure. When the right financial behaviors have too much friction and the wrong ones have none. Amazon understands this. That's why they have one-click buying. They removed all friction from spending your money. Because they know if there's any friction, any extra step, fewer people will buy. Your future wealth needs the same approach. It needs to be easier to save than to spend. Automatic, frictionless, happening before you can think about it or change your mind. The fourth pattern is what I call the peer pressure drain. Your friends are costing you money, not on purpose, not maliciously, but they're still doing it. Here's how. Your friends want to go out to dinner, $50. Your friends want to take a trip, $800. Your friends are upgrading their phones, their cars, their apartments, and suddenly you feel like you should too. This is social spending. Spending driven by what the people around you are doing, by what feels normal in your social circle. And it's incredibly powerful. Because nobody wants to be the cheap friend. The one who always says no. The one who can't keep up. So, you say yes. You go along. You match their spending. Even though maybe you can't really afford it. Even though maybe they're all going into debt to maintain this lifestyle. Even though maybe this spending doesn't align with your actual goals. The peer pressure drain is subtle. Because it doesn't feel like peer pressure. It feels like friendship. Like being social. Like living your life. But every time you spend to keep up with friends, you're choosing their priorities over yours. Their timeline over yours. Their financial life over yours. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of your friends are broke or heading there. Most people in their 20s and 30s have almost no savings. Serious consumer debt. No real plan. If you spend like they spend, you'll end up where they end up, which is probably not where you want to be. Now, here's where things get really interesting, because there's a deeper pattern underlying all of these habits. It's what I call the present bias trap. Your brain is wired to value the present way more than the future. This is evolutionary. In the ancestral environment, the future was uncertain. The present was what mattered for survival. So your brain gives you a massive reward for present pleasure, and almost no motivation for future benefit. That coffee feels good now. Saving $5 feels like nothing now. Your brain picks the coffee, every time. That convenient takeout solves your hunger now. The extra $10 you save by cooking won't be felt for years. Your brain picks takeout. The trip with friends creates memories now. The $800 saved won't matter until decades from now. Your brain picks the trip. This is present bias. And it's costing you everything. Because here's what your brain doesn't naturally calculate. Compound growth, future value, opportunity cost, That $5 you spend on coffee isn't just $5. It's $5 that could grow for 30 years, which becomes $38. That's what you're actually choosing not to have. That $800 trip isn't just $800. It's $800 that could become $6,000 by retirement. That's the real cost. Your brain sees $5 today versus $5 tomorrow. What you need to see is $5 today versus $38 in 30 years. Once you see it that way, the choice becomes obvious. The problem is, our brains aren't built to see it that way. Let me tell you about two people who illustrate exactly what I'm talking about. Meet Jessica. Jessica makes $65,000 a year, good salary, not rich, but comfortable. Jessica has a latte every morning on the way to work. $6. She orders lunch most days because the office is in a busy area and it's easier. $12? She gets takeout for dinner twice a week because she's tired after work. $30 each time. She has subscriptions to Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify, a gym she rarely uses, and a couple of apps she forgot she was paying for. $80 a month total. She upgrades her phone every 2 years when her contract is up, because that's what you do. She leases a nice car because the monthly payments seemed affordable. $350 a month. None of these feel like big decisions to Jessica. They all feel normal. Everyone has subscriptions. Everyone has a car payment. Everyone buys coffee and lunch. Jessica saves whatever is left at the end of the month, which is usually nothing. She has about $2,000 in savings. No investments, no retirement account beyond the bare minimum her employer requires. Jessica is 32 years old, and she's on track to work until she's 70, if she's lucky. Now let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus makes $60,000 a year, less than Jessica. Marcus makes coffee at home, costs about 30 cents per cup. He meal preps on Sundays. His lunches cost about $3 each. He cooks dinner most nights, maybe $30 for the whole week. He has one streaming service, $12 a month. He works out at home and runs outside, $0. No subscriptions he doesn't actively use. He bought a 3-year-old used car with cash, no car payment. He keeps his phone until it actually stops working, usually 4 or 5 years. Here's the difference in their spending. Jessica spends about $4,800 a year on coffee and meals out. Marcus spends about $900. Jessica spends $80 a month on subscriptions she barely uses. Marcus spends $12. Jessica pays $350 a month for her car. Marcus pays nothing. That's about $15,000 a year in difference. From everyday habits. Not from income, from habits. Marcus saves and invests that $15,000 every year. At 7% return, in 30 years, Marcus will have $1.4 million. Jessica will still be making car payments. Here's what most people don't realize. The difference between financial security and financial stress isn't income. It's not luck. It's not inheritance or privilege. It's everyday habits, repeated thousands of times, compounding in both directions. Jessica and Marcus make almost the same amount of money, but they'll have completely different financial lives. Not because Marcus is smarter or more disciplined or depriving himself, but because Marcus sees what each small habit actually costs. He sees the real price, the future price, the compounded price. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That daily coffee isn't $5. It's your retirement at 65 instead of 55. That car payment isn't $350 a month. It's $1 million over your working life. Those convenience purchases aren't harmless. They're the difference between financial freedom and working forever. The thing about everyday habits is that they feel optional. They feel personal. They feel like they're about your lifestyle and your choices and what makes you happy. And they are about those things. But they're also about your future, your options, your freedom. Every dollar you spend is a choice. Not just about what you get today, but about what you're giving up tomorrow. Most people never think about it that way. They think, it's just $5. It's just this once. It's just a small thing. But there is no just. Because small things repeated become everything. The good news? This works in both directions. Small good habits repeated become wealth, become freedom, become options. Making coffee at home seems like it saves nothing, but it saves your future. Cooking dinner seems like a hassle, but it buys you years of not having to work. Keeping your car an extra 3 years seems like a small thing, but it's the difference between retiring early And retiring never. Every small financial habit is a vote. For the life you want, or against it. Most people are voting against their own interests. Dozens of times a day. Without even realizing they're voting. Here's what you need to do. Start seeing the real cost of your habits. Not the sticker price, the future price, the opportunity cost, what you're actually giving up. That $15 lunch isn't $15. Over a working career, it's $90,000 in lost investment growth. Is this particular lunch worth $90,000? Maybe sometimes. But every day? Probably not. That car payment isn't just about this car. It's about every car payment you'll have for the rest of your life. Most people always have a car payment. $400 a month for 40 years. That's $1.5 million in opportunity cost. Is driving a nicer car really worth $1.5 million? Once you see these numbers, your behavior changes automatically. Not because you're disciplined, but because the math becomes too obvious to ignore. Then, automate the good habits. Make saving and investing frictionless. Make it happen before you see the money, before you can spend it, before lifestyle creep can consume it. Set up automatic transfers on payday. Money goes to savings and investments first, immediately, without you touching it or thinking about it. What's left is what you can spend. That's your lifestyle budget. And here's the beautiful thing. You'll barely notice the difference. Because you never saw that money. Your lifestyle never expanded to include it. Finally, increase your savings when you get raises. This is how you beat lifestyle creep. You get a $500 raise? Immediately increase your automatic savings by $400. You can spend the other $100 on lifestyle. Congratulations. You got a small lifestyle upgrade and a massive savings boost. You do this every time your income increases. Your lifestyle improves slightly, but your savings grow dramatically. This is how people retire at 50 on modest incomes. Not by depriving themselves, but by never letting their lifestyle expand to consume their entire paycheck. Your everyday habits are shaping your financial future right now. Every day. Every small decision. Most people let those habits run on autopilot, and they wonder why they're broke, why they can't get ahead, why wealth feels impossible. But it's not impossible. It's just compound math, working against them instead of for them. The question isn't whether small habits matter. They matter more than anything else. The question is whether you're going to keep letting unconscious habits control your financial future, or whether you're going to design habits that build the life you actually want. Every small choice is a vote. What are you voting for?